Hello, welcome back. Let's read some more. But my camcorder's out of power. Because I have looked at some second-hand computers on the Danish second-hand market called the blue papers, like the yellow papers. But let's continue reading. I did reading about Roman roads, history, Roman empires, timeline, Roman history, Roman Republic. Let's read the Roman Kingdom, ancient Rome, the Roman empires. And I will try to make a video about this in my language. Danish. It's 4 p.m. The weather is like perfect outside. Oh, my back is hurting. Oh. Yes, let's try read this. I have to look my cell phone. But I pay all my bills this month and I got food. So I'll be fine.
Roman Kingdom. Roman Kingdom Roma, Latin, 753 BC 509 BC. The ancient quarters of Rome. The ancient quarters of Rome. Capital Rome. Common languages Old Latin. Religion Roman religion. Government elective monarchy. King 753 716 BC. Rome. Eulus 715 672 Numa. Pompilius 672 640 Chalash Hostilius 640 616 Gancus Marcius 616 578 BCL. Tarquinius Priscus 578 534 BC. Servius Tullius 534 509 BCL. Tarquinius Superbus Legislature Senate. Roman Assemblies. Historical era. Iron Age. The Roman Kingdom, also referred to as the Roman monarchy or the regal period of ancient Rome, was the earliest period of Roman history when the city and its territory were ruled by kings. According to tradition, the Roman kingdom began with the city's founding c. 753 BC, with settlements around the Palatine Hill along the river Tiber in central Italy, and ended with the overthrow of the kings and the establishment of the Republic c. 509 BC. Little is certain about the kingdom's history as no records and few inscriptions from the time of the kings survive. The accounts of this period written during the Republic and the Empire are thought largely to be based on oral tradition. Origin. The site of the founding of the Roman kingdom, and eventual Republic and Empire, included a ford where one could cross the river Tiber in central Italy. The Palatine Hill and hills surrounding it provided easily defensible positions in the wide fertile plain surrounding them. Each of these features contributed to the success of the city. 1. The traditional version of Roman history, which has come down principally through Livy, 64 or 59 BC AD 12 or 17, Plutarch, 46 120, and Dionysius of Halicarnassus, c. 60 BC after 7 BC, recounts that a series of 7 kings ruled the settlement in Rome's first centuries. The traditional chronology, as codified by Varro, 116 BC 27 BC, and Fabius Pictor, c. 270 c. 200 BC, allows 243 years for their combined reigns, an average of almost 35 years. Since the work of Barthold Jorgnebara, modern scholarship has generally discounted this schema. The Gauls destroyed many of Rome's historical records when they sacked the city after the Battle of the Allia in 390 BC, according to Varro. According to Polybius, the battle occurred in 387-6, and what remained eventually fell prey to time or to theft. With no contemporary records of the kingdom surviving, all accounts of the Roman kings must be carefully questioned. 2. 3. Monarchy. The kings, excluding Romulus, who, according to legend, held office by virtue of being the city's founder, were all elected by the people of Rome to serve for life, with none of the kings. Founding of Rome 753 BC, monarchy overthrow 509 BC, preceded by succeeded by glacial culture, Belonga Etruscan civilization, Roman Republic, today part of Italy. Vatican City. Shards of terracotta decorative plaques, 6th century BC, Roman Kingdom and Etruscan period, found in the Roman Forum, now in the Diocletian Baths Museum. Rome relying on military force to gain or keep the throne. The insignia of the kings of Rome were 12 lictors, attendants or servants, wielding the symbolic fasces bearing ixes, the right to sit upon a curule seat, the purple toga picta, red shoes, and a white diadem around the head. Of all these insignia, the most important was the purple toga picta. Chief executive. The king was invested with supreme military, executive, and judicial authority through the use of imperium, formally granted to the king by the Curiate Assembly with the passing of the Lex Curiata Imperio at the beginning of each king's reign. The imperium of the king was held for life and protected him from ever being brought to trial for his actions. As the king was the sole owner of imperium in Rome at the time, he possessed ultimate executive power and unchecked military authority as the commander-in-chief of all of the Roman legions. Also, the laws that kept citizens safe from magistrates' misuse of imperium did not exist during the monarchical period. The king had the power to either appoint or nominate all officials to offices. He would appoint a tribunus scelerum to serve as both the tribune of the Ramnes tribe in Rome and as the commander of the king's personal bodyguard, the Celeres. The king was required to appoint the tribune upon entering office, and the tribune left office upon the king's death. The tribune was second in rank to the king and also possessed the power to convene the Curiate Assembly and lay legislation before it. Another officer appointed by the king was the Praefectus Urbi, who acted as warden of the city. When the king was absent from the city, the prefects held all of the king's powers and abilities, even to the point of being bestowed with imperium while inside the city. The king even received the right to be the only person to appoint patricians to the senate. Chief priest. What is known for certain is that the king alone possessed the right to theogony on behalf of Rome as its chief augur, and no public business could be performed without the will of the gods made known through auspices. The people knew the king as a mediator between them and the gods. Compare Latin Pontifex, bridge builder, in this sense, between men and the gods, and thus viewed the king with religious awe. This made the king the head of the national religion and its chief executive. Having the power to control the Roman calendar, he conducted all religious ceremonies and appointed lower religious offices and officers. It is said that Romulus himself instituted the augurs and was believed to have been the best augur of all. Likewise, King Numa Pompilius instituted the pontiffs and through them developed the foundations of the religious dogma of Rome. Chief legislator. Under the kings, the Senate and Curiate Assembly had very little power and authority. They were not independent since they lacked the right to meet together and discuss questions of state at their own will. They could be called together only by the king and could discuss only the matters that the king laid before them. While the Curiate Assembly had the power to pass laws that had been submitted by the king, the Senate was effectively an honorary council. It could advise the king on his action but by no means could prevent him from acting. The only thing that the king could not do without the approval of the Senate and the Curiate Assembly was to declare war against a foreign nation. Chief Judge. The king's imperium both granted him military powers and qualified him to pronounce legal judgment in all cases as the Chief Justice of Rome. Though he could assign pontiffs to act as minor judges in some cases, he had supreme authority in all cases brought before him, both civil and criminal. This made the king supreme antemes of both war and peace. While some writers believed there was no appeal from the king's decisions, others believed that a proposal for appeal could be brought before the king by any patrician during a meeting of the Curiate Assembly. To assist the king, a council advised him during all trials, but this council had no power to control his decisions. Also, 2 criminal detectives, quaestors parricidi, were appointed by him, as well as a 2-man criminal court, Duumviri Julianus, which oversaw cases of treason. According to Livy, Lucius Tarquinius Superbus, the 7th and final king of Rome, judged capital criminal cases without the advice of councillors, thereby creating fear amongst those who might think to oppose him. 4. Election of the kings. Whenever a king died, Rome entered a period of interregnum. Supreme power of the state would devolve to the Senate, which was responsible for finding a new king. The Senate would assemble and appoint one of its own members, the interrex, to serve for a period of 5 days with the sole purpose of nominating the next king of Rome. If no king were nominated at the end of 5 days, with the Senate's consent, the interrex will appoint another senator to succeed him for another 5-day term. This process would continue until a new king was elected. Once the interrex found a suitable nominee to the kingship, he would bring the nominee before the Senate and the Senate would review him. If the Senate passed the nominee, the interrex would convene the Curiate Assembly and preside over it during the election of the king. Once the nominee was proposed to the Curiate Assembly, the people of Rome could election of the kings. Proposed to the Curiate Assembly a law granting him is said that Romulus himself instituted the augurs and was believed to have been the best augur of all. Likewise, King Numa Pompilius instituted the pontiffs and through them developed the foundations of the religious dogma of Rome. Chief legislator. Under the kings, the Senate and Curiate Assembly had very little power and authority. They were not independent since they lacked the right to meet together and discuss questions of state at their own will. They can't be called together only by the king and could discuss only the matters that the king laid before them. While the Curiate Assembly had the power to pass laws that had been submitted by the king, the Senate was effectively an honorary council. It could advise the king on his action but by no means could prevent him from acting. The only thing that the king could not do without the approval of the Senate and the Curiate Assembly was to declare war against a foreign nation. Chief Judge. The king's imperium both granted him military powers and qualified him to pronounce legal judgment in all cases as the Chief Justice of Rome. Though he could assign pontiffs to act as minor judges in some cases, he had supreme authority in all cases brought before him, both civil and criminal. This made the king supreme antemes of both war and peace. While some writers believed there was no appeal from the king's decisions, others believed that a proposal for appeal could be brought before the king by any patrician during a meeting of the Curiate Assembly. To assist the king, a council advised him during all trials, but this council had no power to control his decisions. Also, 2 criminal detectives, quaestors parricidi, were appointed by him as well as a 2-man criminal court, Duumviri Julianus, which oversaw cases of treason. According to Livy, Lucius Tarquinius Superbus, the 7th and final king of Rome, judged capital criminal cases without the advice of councillors, thereby creating fear amongst those who might think to oppose him. 4. Election of the kings. Whenever a king died, Rome entered a period of interregnum. Supreme power of the state would devolve to the Senate, which was responsible for finding a new king. The Senate would assemble and appoint one of its own members, the interrex, to serve for a period of 5 days with the sole purpose of nominating the next king of Rome. If no king were nominated at the end of 5 days, with the Senate's consent, the